Lesson number 7 of Endgames you must know from beginner to master level, and today we're going to take a look at the same colored bishop endgames plus a pawn. So let's take a look at this first position. We are at endgame number 33, driving up the defendant bishop, so it might tell you that white are actually winning here, but how? So here bishop is located on this a4 e8 diagonal, and white go bishop f3, trying to get their bishop to c6 and block this bishop off this diagonal. Bishop a4, bishop c6, and now there is absolutely nothing black can do. After bishop c6, king c6, king e8, king c7, white promote the pawn and win the game. Let's get to ending number 34. In the following case, the defending king has reached that position and white are not able to make any progress. Bishop goes to d7, bishop goes to f1, and now no matter what white do, our bishop will either block the pawn on d6 from b5 square or h3, either from this diagonal or this diagonal. So white went for bishop g4, bishop b5, bishop d7, bishop e2, and once again no progress was made. It is a draw. Let's get to ending number 35. Having a long diagonal for your bishop might play a crucial role, and in the following case they don't have it, specifically black pieces, and white are winning the game. Black are trying their best to stop the pawn, but they're just not able to. So white go bishop c8, they're trying to drive the defendant bishop off this long diagonal. So bishop goes to e4, now bishop b7, bishop d3, and after bishop f3 and bishop a6, it looks like the pawn is finally stopped, but that's not the case. Bishop g4, and white ends up winning the game because it's a Zugzwang. We either wants to go b7, if king b5, bishop e2 is a checkmate. Not a checkmate, we take the bishop, not checkmate. So I remember an endgame I played long time ago when I was a kid. I was playing at the city championship, and I had king, pawn, and bishop versus king and bishop endgame, kind of like this. And I don't necessarily remember. I think I had a central pawn on e file. I was playing with white pieces. That's what I remember for sure. And I played for absolutely drawish position for maybe 40 moves. And on move 45 or 46, my opponent finally blundered. And by the time of move basically I wasn't moving my pawns, I was just moving my bishop, and it was like around 50 move rule, and then suddenly my opponent blundered and I ended up winning a chess game, even though I shouldn't have, but it happened. So it's very important to keep your concentration, and because in this endgames it's still possible to make mistakes. Those ones are kind of easy, which I showed previously, because you just move your bishop and try to block from this side or this side. In this case, bishop didn't have enough activity, that's why black ended up losing. Now let's get to ending number 36. As I said before, there can be a lot of mistakes in this endgames as well. And now let's take a look. Their white player is not winning here, but black ended up making some mistakes which cost them the game. So black went for king d7, still a good move, king g6, king e8, and now after bishop f4, the white's plans to go bishop h6, bishop g7, and drive this bishop off this diagonal, so that for bishop f5, f6, f7, this pawn can be pushed. And black decided to go for bishop d4, which ended up being a blunder. So what they should have done is to play king f8, and after bishop h6, king g8, it turns out that white are not able to make any progress, because even if they try to trade the bishop on this diagonal, they can't do much, because after bishop f6, king f6, king f8, it will be wait, bishop g5, bishop g7, bishop f6. Yeah, I don't have to take because it's actually lost, but bishop a3, and once this bishop is here, we can go bishop e7 and block this pawn of Pramon, because I thought we might even go to the pawn endgame, but then I realized that white are actually winning. They reached the key squares, which I analyzed in the previous lessons, and they should end up winning the game. So king f8, bishop h6, and after king g8, f6, they just take a pawn, and it is a draw. But bishop d4 was played, and after bishop h6, it turns out that black are actually losing. Let's say king e7, bishop goes to g7, and if bishop walks from this diagonal, we go f6, king e6, f7, and after bishop c5, there is bishop h6, and the game ends up in the favor of white pieces. King g8, let's say king c6, bishop f8, bishop e5, bishop a3, and now this pawn is unstoppable. Now let's take a look at the following position, where once again it is a draw, but black made some mistakes playing on bishop h5, blocking the way for the king. If king was on d8, there is absolutely nothing that white can do, because basically what happens is we can just move our bishop back and forth. This d8 square is opposite of this bishop's color, so it would be a draw, but bishop h5 is a very crucial move just to make sure black have some tricks in their sleeve. Bishop h3, king f5, bishop d7, king d5, bishop a4, and that's the final mistake. What black should have done is to play king g7, and after king c5, king f6, king e5. It is a draw because once again bishop has enough activity. Let's go bishop e8. There is, I think, even king d4, and we kinda reach the position we had in the previous examples where bishop g4, bishop b5, and there is no progress that can be made. It is a draw, but after bishop a4, it turns out that white are winning. King b6, king c7, this king is slightly too far, and what we saw in the first example is driving the bishop off this diagonal, and white are winning the game. So how to make a draw? After bishop h5, bishop h3 is one of the cases, bishop g6, bishop d7, and it is a draw if bishop f5, we just go bishop a4, and we saw that if, let's say, king f5, king d4, king c5, we simply go king g7, king f6, king f5. So walk around the scheme and then try to move the bishop along these two diagonals in order to stop the pawn. Hopefully it was clear. Once again, let me know if you have any questions regarding any of the endgames you just saw throughout last couple of minutes. In the next lesson, we're gonna take a look at bishop versus knight and one pawn. So that's gonna be interesting. And pretty soon we'll start looking at rook plus pawn versus rook endgames, rook plus two pawns versus rooks, and of course pawn endgames, which are very, very important for a general understanding, because, you know, pawn endgames sometimes they play a crucial role, because sometimes you evaluate your position based on what might potentially happen in the pawn endgame. But that's it from me for today. I'll see you in the next lesson, maybe next week, maybe in 1.5 weeks. Not sure when the video will come out, but have fun, enjoy, play chess. Bye bye.